Hello, in this video, let me talk about association analysis. There are three major tasks we need to understand for the association analysis. First, we need to find the frequent item sets from the data set. Once you find the frequent item sets, we need to generate association rules with the confidence probability. And then we need to check the correlations among the items for each rule, okay? All right, so what is a frequent pattern analysis? And the frequent pattern is a pattern, a set of items, subsequences, substructures, etc. that occurs frequently in a data set, okay? It was first proposed by Agarwal and these people in the context of frequent item sets and association rule mining. And the motivation is finding inherent irregularities in data. In our human lives, there are certain things that are happening practically all the time or very frequently, and then there may be some good reasons behind them. Okay, we need to find out what those are. Okay, so some examples include the following. While products were often purchased together, okay, if you know people buy certain things with some other items, hey, there may be something we can do about. For example, like we can give some motivations to buy those things associated with a certain product. Okay, what are the subsequent purchases after buying a PC? I'm sure they want to buy some things like printers, the mouse, things like that. And what kinds of DNA are sensitive to this new drug? Can it automatically classify web documents? These things are becoming a very hot issue these days, at least in the USA. Some applications include a market basket analysis. I'm sure grocery stores are very interested in that, and also the criminal crime prevention programs by police, FBI, those types of people also interested in a basket analysis of human behaviors, cross marketing, catalog design, sale campaign analysis, web log analysis, DNA sequence analysis, and so on. Okay. All right. Let's talk about a basic concepts in a frequent patterns analysis. Basically, these two slides are probably the most important in terms of conceptual understanding. Actually, these concepts, to be honest, it's not that difficult. The real problem of the frequent pattern analysis or association analysis is about the size of the data. When you have a huge size of data, applying these basic concepts is actually becoming a very different issue. Okay, so we'll discuss that after these 2 pages of basic concepts. But again, basic concepts are not that difficult to understand. But anyhow, we need to understand the basic terms to discuss this algorithm. Okay. All right. So let's take a look. Okay. Here we have 5 transactions. Transaction ID 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So you can think, for example, each transaction as a sort of when you go to a grocery store, you may have a receipt. So on your receipt or on each receipt, you have a certain items you or some other people purchased. Like transaction ID 10, this person bought a beer, nuts, and diaper. In the transaction 20, this person purchased beer, coffee, diaper. Transaction 30, beer, diaper, eggs, and so on. Okay. So over here we have only 5 transactions, but in reality, it could be millions of transactions. Think about companies like Amazon.com. I'm sure they have millions of transactions, probably every day or every hour. I don't know, a lot. Okay, so we want to analyze these transactions, whether there are any frequent patterns we should be interested in. Okay. All right, let's get familiar with certain terms. Okay, the first one is the item set. So an item set is a set of one or more items. Okay, and the k item set is a item set with a k number of elements. Okay, so let me give you some example. How about one item set? One item set. That means that item set has only one item or one element in a set. Okay. So for example, like a beer, that's a one item set. Okay. Or nuts, diaper. Okay. Each of those will be a one item set. Okay. How about two item set? Two item set, meaning item set with two items. For example, two item sets include beer and the nuts. Okay, the two items, and the beer and the diaper. Okay, nuts and diaper, beer and the coffee, coffee and the diaper, things like that. So when there are two items in a set, item set, we call two item sets. So basically, if you are familiar with the set theory, so basically the K means a cardinality of that set. Okay, so you can think of three item sets, four item sets, five item sets, six item sets, and so on. Okay. Okay. Next one is support. There are two types of support we use: absolute support or relative support. Okay. All right. Let's take a look. Support or support count or absolute support or support count of X is a frequency or occurrence of an item set of X. Okay. All right. Let me give an example. How about beer? One item set of beer. Okay. So how many times this occurred? One, two, three, three, right? So the absolute support for beer, one item set beer is 3. Okay, and the relative support S is the fraction of transactions that contains X. Okay, the probability that a transaction contains X. Okay, what about the relative support for one item set of a beer? Okay, again, the absolute support for beer is 3, right? 1, 2, 3. So relative support is what? 3 transactions out of 5 transactions. So 0.6. 3 over 5. So 0.6 or 60%. Okay. Let me give a couple more examples. How about diaper? So diaper absolute count or absolute support would be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the absolute support or support count for diaper is 4, and the relative support should be what? 4 over 5. So 4 transactions contain diapers out of 5 transactions. So 4 over 5 or they are 0.8 or 80%. Is that right? Okay. How about two item sets? How about beer and the diaper? Okay. So transaction 10 contains beer and diaper. Okay. 1. Transaction 20 also has beer and diaper. Okay. So 2. Beer and diaper. 3. I think that's it. So absolute support for beer and diaper. Okay. Beer and the diaper would be 3. for absolute support. So 3 over 5, that's 0.6 or 60%. So relative support for two item set of beer and diaper would be 0.6 or 60%. Okay. Okay, the next one is the concept of a frequent. Okay. We call on items that X is frequent if X support is no less than a mean sub threshold. Okay. The mean sub stands for minimum support. Okay. So the item set is frequent based upon the minimum support you set. Okay, so in case of let's say beer, so we have a minimum support of 1 to 3. Okay, if you say your minimum support level is 2, then obviously beer is frequent. Okay, but if you say if you set your minimum support level to 5, for example, and then obviously the beer is not. Okay, does that make sense to you? Okay, so item set is a frequent. Okay, if access support is no less than a minimum support threshold, and this minimum support level is what you decide. Okay. So depending on the minimum support threshold you set, a certain item set can be frequent or not. All right. Once we find out those frequent item sets, and then we may be able to find interesting association rules. Okay. So let's look at the next slide. Okay. So now we want to find the association rules from those frequent item sets. Okay. So find all the rules. X implies Y with the minimum support and the confidence. Okay. So I'll talk about the concept of confidence over here. Okay. So support, we already know what support is. Okay. So basically a number of occurrences. Okay. Support is a probability that a transaction contains X union Y. Okay. Confidence, C, is a conditional probability that a transaction having X also contains Y. Okay. All right. So let's say we set the minimum support level to 0.5, 50%. And then minimum confidence of 0.5 or 50%. Okay, so when you have these transactions, when you analyze these transactions, first thing we need to do is we need to find frequent item sets. Frequent item sets based on this mean sub level. Okay, so beer 1 to 3, so that should be fine. So 0.6, right? How about nuts? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 3 out of 5, that's a 0.6. That satisfies this mean sub level. Okay, how about diaper? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 80%. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 5, that's 80%. Okay, how about eggs? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 0.6. Okay, and beer and diaper, okay, 3. Okay, so let's do one more. How about beer and the nuts? Beer and nuts, 1, just 1. So beer and the nuts cannot be a frequent item set because beer and nuts happened only once. Okay, how about nuts and diaper? Nuts, diaper, 1. That's it, and 2. Okay, so nuts and diaper occurred only 2 times. So absolute support is 2, and relative support is 0.4. Okay, So you have to count. You have to count all. You have to find out all those the support. Okay, for every possible item size. Okay, so that can be kind of really challenging. So we'll discuss that on the next page. Okay, so for the time being, let's say we we found these are frequent item sets: the beer, nuts, diaper, eggs, and the beer and diaper. Okay, so once you found the frequent item sets, from those frequent item sets, then we should be able to find interesting association rules. Okay, to find the association rules, obviously, we need 2 item sets and higher. If you have only 1 item set, from the 1 item set, well, there's no rule. There's only 1 anyway. Okay, so when you have 2 item sets, 3 item sets, so any item sets where k is at least 2, and then we will be able to find some interesting association rules. Okay. Of course, some rules are interesting, some are not. So we'll talk about those issues when we discuss the third task of correlation analysis. I'll also give an example about them later. Okay. So let's look at association rules. Okay. So when you have a frequent item set of beer and diaper, you can say people buy beer, then buy diaper. Or the other way around would be people buy diaper, and then they buy beer. Okay, so there are 2 rules possible. Beer implies a diaper, or diaper implies beer. Okay. Okay, and then for each association rule, we need to find out the support level, okay, and then a confidence. So confidence is simply a conditional probability that a transaction having X also contains Y. Okay, so support is 60%. We already know that. Okay, beer diaper 3. Okay, frequency is 3. So 3 out of 5 transactions. That's 60%. Okay, so we already know that. Okay, now let's find out the confidence level. Okay, so beer implies diaper. Okay, let's take a look. Beer, diaper. Okay, beer, diaper, beer, diaper. Okay, so every time beer shows up, and then you see diapers. Okay, so 100%. How about the other way around? Diaper implies beer. Okay, diaper, beer, diaper, beer, diaper, beer. Okay, so far 100%. When diapers are there, always the beer is also there, right? Okay, let's take a look. Let's continue to look at what's going on. How about diaper? Okay, when diaper happens in transaction 50, no beer. Okay, so diaper occurred 4 times, but only 3 times you see beer. Does it make sense? Okay, so the confidence level or conditional probability where the diaper implies beer is only 75%. Okay, again, diaper, beer, diaper, beer, diaper, beer, diaper, and no beer. Okay, so the beer occurred only 75% of the time when diapers there, right? So 75%. Both are okay because we set the minimum confidence level 50%. So both are interesting rules for us, at least so far. We need to check the one more thing about correlation analysis a little later. Okay. All right. So the next thing we need to do is some pruning. What I mean by that is, remember when you try to find frequent patterns, we have to check a lot. Okay, one item set, two items, okay, we check all the one item sets, obviously, and then two item sets, three item sets, four items, and so on. So actually, that there is a complexity right there. So let's take a look. This is a problem of huge complexity in the next slide. Okay. All right. So when you have n number of items, how many item sets do you think we need to check whether they are frequent or not? Okay. So let's look at some examples. Let's say if we have two items like A and B, we need to check the following item sets. Okay, so when you have two items, we have one item set A and B. Okay, and the two item set A and B, right? Okay, so 1, 2, 3. By the way, this is same as what? 2 to the second power minus 1, right? Okay. When you have three items like A, B, C, like what? Beer, diaper, and milk. Okay. Then we need A. Okay, set of A. One item set A, one item set B, one item set C, and two item sets like AB, AC, BC, and the three item set A, B, C. So we have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, by the way, that is the same as what? 2 to the third power minus 1. Okay, when you have four items, let's say A, B, C, D, and then we have like a 15 item sets, we need to check the frequency. Like one item says A, B, C, D, and two item sets like AB, AC, AD, BC, BD, CD. Okay, and then ABC, ABD, ACD, BCD, and ABCD, and that's all 15 number of item sets, which is 2 to the fourth power minus 1. Okay, so as you can see over here, number of item sets grows exponentially. Okay, so think about it. How many items your neighbor grocery store carries? Also think about how many items Amazon.com carries. So it's going to be sooner or later, it's going to be just huge. Numbers will be huge. Okay. So when we have an n number of items, we need to check 2 to the nth power minus 1, as I showed you over here. Okay. And then if you haven't checked what kind of number that could be, try to get a 100 items, and then we need to check 2 to the 100th power minus 1. Okay, think about what kind of number this is. Your calculator or computer may blow up. If they carry 1,000 items, it's going to be 2 to the 1,000th power minus 1. I don't know, whether your computer can handle this. If you have a million items, then 2 to the millionth power minus 1 doesn't work, right? Yeah. So sooner or later, it would be computationally impossible to check all those item sets. Okay. So what we have to do is, instead of trying to check the frequency, we need to reduce the number of item sets first before we check for its frequency. Okay. So we have to prune all those item sets first. Okay, before checking their frequency. Okay, otherwise, as I showed you over here, these are practically impossible. Okay, so we'll talk about some examples of pruning algorithms. When you say machine learning algorithm for association analysis, basically we are talking about this pruning algorithm. Okay, all right. All right, so now we understand why we need the pruning algorithm in association analysis. There are several approaches, including these. Probably a more popular one would be excuse me, a priori algorithm. Okay, so we'll look at the a priori algorithm. Also, we will use a Python to implement a priori algorithm. Okay, the a priori algorithm is based on the following seemingly kind of obvious property, saying any subset of a frequent item set must be frequent. For example, if a set of a beer, diaper, nut is frequent, so is a beer and diaper. When you think about it, this beer, diaper, nuts, it occurred more than the minimum support level. Actually, obviously, the beer and the diaper, which is a subset of these three, okay, should be frequent, right? Yeah. So that property is called the downward closure property of frequent patterns. For this example, another way of saying the same thing would be this one. Maybe this one is easier to understand. Every transaction having beer, diaper, and nuts also contains beer and diaper. It kind of seems obvious, but the whole concept of a priori algorithm is based on this property. Okay. The a priori pruning principle is as follows. If there is any item set which is infrequent, its superset should not be generated or tested. Okay, when you think about it, that's exactly the other way around of this property. Okay, so let me say it again. If there is any item set which is infrequent, and then obviously it's a superset. Superset would be what? Infrequent, right? So we know that. We don't have to actually generate or test it. That's a waste of time, right? So if there is any item set which is infrequent, all of the supersets, all of its supersets should not be generated and tested because we already know it is infrequent, right? So let me say this one again. Any subset of a frequent item set must be frequent, right? So that I think is easy to understand. How about let me say the same thing differently this time. A certain item set is infrequent, and its supersets should be infrequent. Is that right? So let me say again. Any certain item set is infrequent, and its supersets must be infrequent. Is that right? Yeah. So for those the supersets, then we should not count the level of support. We don't have to count how many times those supersets occurred in your data set because we already know those supersets are subset. Okay, so infrequent. Okay, so a certain subset, a certain item set is infrequent. All of its supersets are also infrequent. Okay, so let me show you the examples. Okay, let's look at this previous discussion about finding frequent item sets. Remember the main problem of generating all those possible item sets can be computationally impossible, okay, to check. So what we need to do is we need to prune this whole number of item sets, okay. So for example, if you have 4 items like A, B, C, D, okay, we don't want to count all those support, okay, all these are possible item sets. That's crazy, okay. So what you want to do is using this pruning algorithm. So for example, if you found A, okay, if this item set having only A is infrequent, then we know any superset containing A is also infrequent, such as AB, AC, AD, ABC, ABD, ACD, ABCD. Okay, so for those supersets containing A, okay, we don't even bother to count how many times they occurred. Does that make sense to you? So by just figuring out the level of support for A, we prune 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can just drop, we don't have to consider 7 item sets out of 15. A very powerful concept. Very powerful concept. I have one more example. So if you found in your transactions this item set of A and B, okay, if this is infrequent, any superset of A and B would be also infrequent. Is that right? So AB, ABC, ABD, and ABCD. Is that right? So those are supersets. Okay, ABC, ABD, and then ABCD, and then we don't have to count a level of support for those item sets. So we can prune this whole the item sets from our consideration. Okay, that's how we control the level of complexity in association analysis. Otherwise, we just cannot do that. The computational complexity is beyond the capacity. Okay. All right. So using the a priori algorithm, we figured out all those frequent item sets. After that, next thing we need to do is a correlation analysis. Specifically, we need to calculate the thing called lift. Okay, lift. So let's use this example over here. Okay, here we have 5,000 transactions. Okay, 5,000 transactions. Among those 5 transactions, there are 3,750 transactions containing serial, and then 1,250 transactions without a serial. Okay, and same thing over here. Out of 5,000 transactions, 3,000 people play basketball, and 2,000 people playing no basketball. All right. So from here, we can have some rules like play basketball, eat cereal. Okay. All right. So we want to calculate the confidence. So play basketball, and then eat a cereal. Okay. So support is 2,000 over here. And the relative support is 2,000 divided by 5,000. So that's 40%. Is that 2,000 divided by 5,000? All right, and then confidence is, okay, this is a conditional probability of eating cereal given playing basketball. So 2,000 divided by 3,000, okay, that is 66.7%. So if you look at this number, 66.7%, this is very impressive. So what this means is, as far as you know, somebody is playing basketball, there is a 66.7% of a chance this person will buy or eat a cereal, right? So it looks like a great business rule we want to use, okay? But it can be actually misleading. So there's one more factor we need to consider before we adopt this business rule, okay? So let's look at the total population, okay? So total population, if you look at the total population, 3,750 people, 3,750 transactions out of 5 transactions, people buy cereal or eat cereal. Okay, So 3750 divided by 5,000 is 75%. So there's a problem here. So actually, general population eating cereal is 75%. And then what we are finding over here is people playing basketball are actually eating less cereal. So, going to the basketball court and then promoting cereal now sounds like a bad idea. So people playing basketball consumes actually less cereal than the general population. Does that make sense to you? So what that means is people playing basketball actually, in a sense, reduces the consumption of cereal. So this rule is not a good idea. Looks wonderful, 66.7%, but it's actually very misleading because general population consumes 75%. 75% of the general population actually consumes a cereal, right? Yeah. So when you have a lot of rules with a high confidence level, we need to check whether those rules make sense or not. Okay, and then to do that, what we do is we use the measure called lift. Okay, the lift is defined this way. Okay, I'll show you another way of calculating lift using the Excel sheet a little later. But anyhow, the lift between a B and C, basketball and the cereal, B, C, is a probability of a B and C. So that is a support of basketball and cereal over the total, okay, divided by probability of basketball, 3,000 people, 3,000 transactions over the total, times probability of a cereal, okay, 3750 divided by 5,000, okay. So lift between B and C, okay, that's a 2,000 divided by 5,000, that's a probability, okay, and then probability of B, so that's basketball, 3,000 divided by 5,000 times probability of a C, cereal, okay, that's 3750 divided by 5,000. So that is a 0.89. I'll show you a little later. If the lift is less than 1, that means these two items, B and C, are negatively correlated with each other. So obviously, basketball reduces the consumption of cereal and vice versa. So that's why we always calculate the lift before trying to adopt any business rules. Okay, so let's take a look at my Excel sheet to calculate some other interesting numbers. Okay. All right, let's review the whole processes related with the association analysis or association rules algorithm. Okay, so basically there are three tasks we need to do. First, we need to find the frequent item sets. Okay, we use the a priori algorithm to do this, right? Otherwise, without those pruning algorithm, now we know the computational complexity would be huge because of the size of the problem grows exponentially. Okay, and then from a frequent item set, we can generate a association rules with a confidence probability, or just a confidence. Okay, and then the third one is a correlation analysis of each rule. Okay. All right, so let's take a look. So we're going to use the same example used in the textbook just 1 minute ago. All right, I'm sure you remember the concept of support. Okay, support is basically a number of transactions containing a certain item. Okay, so in this case, if we found a number of transactions containing A and B, okay, is greater than or equal to a min sub or minimum support level, and then we say that is a frequent item set. Remember, frequent item set. So we use the a priori algorithm to find all those frequent item sets in the all transactions. Okay. Once you have the frequent item set from each frequent item set, and then we can find some rules. And then once you have the rule, and then we can calculate the confidence, right? And the confidence is simply a conditional probability. Okay. So for example, if we have a frequent item set of A and B, a set of A and B, then we can have actually we can have two rules from that, like A implies B or B implies A. Okay. All right. So we can calculate the confidence like this. The probability A implies B is actually a conditional probability of probability of B given A. Okay, probability of B given A. So that is a support of A and B given support for A. Okay, so even though the confidence value of associated rule can be high or higher than the minimum confidence threshold, it still may not be an interesting one. Okay, or actually it can be very misleading. That's why we need to do a correlation analysis. When we do a correlation analysis, we calculate a measure called the lift. Okay, so we just actually did it, but let me just do it again. The lift between A and B is the probability of A and B. Okay, divided by probability of A times the probability of B. Okay. The important number you need to remember as far as the lift is concerned is actually a 1. If lift is less than 1, A and B in this case are negatively correlated. Okay. If lift is greater than 1, and then they are positively correlated. And the lift is equal to 1, and then they are independent of each other, and no correlation between them. Okay. So in our previous example, over here, okay, the lift is 0.89, so that is less than 1. So we know B and C are negatively correlated with each other. Okay. All right, let's do some examples. Okay, the same data we have, basketball, not playing basketball, and then a cereal, not eating cereal, and the total transactions of 5,000. Okay, so how about business rule? B implies C, play basketball, eating cereal. Okay, so P, C, given or over B is, okay, so that is a 2,000. Okay, so given B, okay, given B, that's a 3,000. And then who's eating cereal? That's a 2,000. Okay, so 2,000 divided by the support for B, the 3,000. So 2,000 over 3,000, so 0.667. Okay, makes sense? So given B. Okay, and then among these people playing basketball, how many are eating cereal? 2,000. So 2,000 over 3,000, 0.667. But the lift is 0.009, 0.889. Okay. So as you know now, this value is less than 1. So A and B are negatively correlated. We just did this part in our textbook. So that's exactly what it is, 0.89. Okay. All right, so even though the confidence level seems high, okay, 0.667, so about 67%, so it seems pretty high, but actually the rule is very misleading because the lift value is less than 1. That means playing basketball actually hurt eating cereal. So it's not a good rule to adopt if you want to increase the sales of cereal. Okay. So this is one way of calculating a lift. Personally, I like this one better. Mathematically, exactly the same thing. Mathematically the same, but seems more kind of obvious. Okay. So anyhow, the confidence is a 0.667. Okay. But without any information like playing basketball, general population eating cereal, PC, okay, that is 3,750 divided by the total, that's 75%. You see that? So N25, 3750 over 5,000. So without any information, without doing anything, the general population having a cereal about 75% of time. Okay, so to calculate the lift, what you want to do is you divide the confidence. You divide the confidence by this probability, general population probability. Okay, so if you do that, so confidence is this number, 0.667, and the probability for cereal, okay, that's 0.75. So that is a 0.889. So it's mathematically the same. So whichever you like. If you like this formula, you can do that. If you like this one, you can do that too. Either way. But I kind of think this makes more. I think this is easier to understand. Just comparing this confidence level with for the probability for general population. But also, if you want to prove this thing and this thing is mathematically actually exactly the same thing. Okay. Anyhow, if confidence B implying C is less than PC, then this rule is misleading. Okay. And the 75% of the general population consume cereal anyway. Okay. So among people playing basketball, however, only 66.7% of those people consume cereals. Okay. So this rule actually hurts your sales of cereals if adopted. So this is why we calculate lift when you do association analysis. So when you have hundreds of rules, this can be extremely painful. Okay. Well, that's why we need a computer system. Okay. So after this tutorial, I'll show you how to do this using Python. And using Python, they will calculate support, confidence, and then a lift automatically for you. Okay. But anyhow, in this tutorial, I want you to understand the concept. Okay. All right. For your practice, why don't you calculate the confidence level and the lift for the association rule of C implying B. Okay. How about another one? Calculate the confidence level and the lift for the association rule of not playing basketball, not B, implying C. Okay. So confidence for not basketball, not playing basketball, implying C is the conditional probability, probability C over not playing basketball, not B. Okay, so not B, this column, okay, not B, and then the cereal, okay, so this one, so 1750 divided by 2000, so 0.875, okay, and then a probability of cereals, general population, okay, so that is 3750 over 5000, okay, 3750 divided by 5000, that's a 0.75. So lift for not basketball implying C is a confidence, this confidence divided by probability for C, okay? So that is a 0.875 divided by 0.750. That's 1.167. So this is a greater than 1. So we know now not playing basketball and then eating cereals are positively correlated with each other. Okay, so actually we know now, and not playing basketball actually helps selling more cereals. Okay, so we know now the people who do not play basketball consume more cereal than general population because lift value is greater than 1. Okay, so thus this can be a good rule to use if you want to raise the sales of cereal. Okay, so any rules where the lift is less than 1, probably not a good idea to choose. Okay, all right. All right, so the conceptual part for association analysis is now done. So basically, again, 3 tasks you need to understand. The first one is we need to find a frequent item sets, and then for that we use the a priori algorithm. Okay, and then from each frequent item set, we find the business rules, association rules, I should say. Okay, and for each association rule, we calculate a confidence and a lift. Okay, confidence and lift. So when you have a huge amount of data, calculation of a support, the confidence and lift can take a huge calculations. Okay, so it's practically impossible doing those kind of things manually. So we need a help from a computer. Okay, so there's another tutorial. Okay, this tutorial is for doing association analysis in Python. So go to this video lecture. Okay, all right.